A year ago, Ms. Sally Mbanefo came on board as the Director General of Nigerian Tourism Development Corporation. So she's celebrating our 1 year in office, and she's here in the studio to tell us how has the journey been in the last 1 year. Mrs. Mbanefo, I'm sorry.
Good morning.
How's the journey been? Good morning. It's
nice very interesting.
How's the journey been in the last 1 year?
Very, very, very exciting. It's been a learning curve for somebody coming from the private sector, fresh, into the public sector, deep in the deep end of public sector. I had to hit the ground running. So it's been very exciting.
Okay. What efforts have you made toward repositioning the sector so that you can get the desirable effect?
Thank you very much. I think that the first thing I did when I came in is to have one-on-one sessions with my team, the people on ground, to see how they were feeling, what needed to be done to move them from where I took over from, and to take them to the next level. And I think one of the things you start to do is staff welfare is a very, very, very important thing in public service. I've also realized it's important in the private sector, but even more important in the public sector, because people need to look forward and look forward to doing their work. And from what I listened to the staff, I realized there was a need, and we'll put up our strategic imperatives under 3 major topics. The first strategic imperative is to rebuild the NTDC, the engine that would drive our strategies. Okay. We had to rebuild it. And under rebuilding the NTDC, it involves capacity building of staff, creating a corporate governance environment. And the next strategic imperative was to grow the tourism value chain for revenues and job creation. So we had to put strategies in place for that. And the third strategic imperative is to reinvent the tourism value chain. And to reinvent the tourism value chain, you need a lot of partnerships. PPP projects come into play. And that is how we've looked at it. And to just tell you specifically a few of the things we've done. Okay. Under corporate governance, for example, we decided that we had to create a corporate governance structure in place. And for that, we created a tenders board, we created a procurement committee, we created also an executive committee to make sure that the executive team discuss and analyze issues from time to time. And other things we did also, since we're creating transformation and we wanted the staff to buy into transformation, we created a transformation steering committee made out of members of staff. We also created a project and sponsorship development unit because we're planning to have a lot of MOUs signed. And so we need a unit. You don't just sign an MOU and leave it there. There must be a unit, a team of professionals, young, bright-minded people who will now follow up on the implementation of the MOUs. So can you tell me about your MOUs? Well, we've signed quite a few MOUs. Maybe I'll come to that a bit later. Okay. Another initiative we did under corporate governance is also to create a revenue-generating committee. We believe that tourism is revenue-generating. Anyone who is in tourism should not be asking for handouts. And so we created a revenue-generating committee that will encourage and come up with ideas on how we're going to create revenue for Nigeria. Okay. So rebuilding the NTDC involves the staff, their office, their comfort, their cars that they need to drive, and all, they need to be able to do their work. And so for that, there were a lot of issues of promotion going back to so many years. We corrected that, so that was an achievement. The staff also had no buses to work with. Again, one of the things we're going to talk about today is success in partnership between the private sector and the public sector. That has been one of our major achievements, that we've been able to get the private sector to support us. And so the buses, laptops of staff, the environment that they work in. If you see, for example, we have now 4 buses from the private sector. We have purchased transformers because we didn't have light. There was a constant blackout there. We now have a transformer. We had no generator. We now have a generator. The office, we needed to give it a facelift so that it can look attractive to tourists. So we branded it and had it refaced. We also got our web portal improved and created signages all over Nigeria, just the little prop-up things to give us a good facelift. And all these things were done in partnership with the private sector. The 4 buses were given to us by the private sector. We also, as part of welfare, you see the pictures later, I'll show it to you later. We also were able to improve our status in Lagos. We upgraded the office in Lagos. Again, through collaboration with the private sector. So that is a major success, that when we call on the private sector, they run and say, what do you need? Support us. We're not begging, no. It's your responsibility. as a private citizen. The government will create infrastructure to support the private sector, but the private sector should always lend a hand where it needs to show its contribution to the society and its patriotism.
So how do you achieve that? I mean, making the private sector alive to their corporate social responsibilities.
Well, I'm a child and product of the private sector.
Okay.
And they see me as one of them out there, and I must succeed.
So you speak their language?
I speak their language, but I also want them to know that I am government now, and I'm very proud to work for the Nigerian government, and I want them to be proud to be Nigerians and support everything that we do. So that sort of encapsulates the first part, which is restructuring and rebuilding the NTDC. Okay. Now, staff welfare. They didn't have conditions of service for so many years. Now it's almost coming out right now. We've worked on it for the past 1 year. And staff welfare is something that is ongoing. You really cannot fully satisfy your children like your children. You can't, you give them this, they want more. You give them this, they want more. So it's also human nature. So we keep working at it every day, but the important thing is to lend our ears to what our staff have to say. Because unless you feed the goose that lays the golden egg, there will be no golden egg. So first we must take care of our people. And from that you will see we've signed a lot of MOUs for capacity building, MOUs to do best practices, you know, so that our staff will know how to sell tourism. How are we going to be a successful tourism host? That is what all these MOUs we're doing are all about.
Thank you very much. I'm happy you now have a well-motivated team.
We're still working on it.
So, yeah, at least for now, they are motivated to do a good job and, of course, to cooperate with you towards achieving your lofty ideas and objectives for the cooperation. Now, what are the achievements in the area of practical tourism?
Fantastic. Thank you very much. I think this is where the second strategic imperative comes in. The first, remember, is rebuilding the NTDC. The second is to grow the tourism value chain for revenue generation and job creation. And the first job that gave us is to create the idea of domestic tourism.
That's right.
Why would we tell outsiders to come to Nigeria if we Nigerians don't know what we have? Why would I, as a DG of tourism, say, oh, come to Nigeria, and I have not seen any tourism site? So the first thing we did is to launch domestic tourism. And domestic tourism means that we will be going within our own country. We have 170 million people. If only 20 million people out of those people go within Nigeria and they spend just $2,000, which is their per capita income, we will generate at least 4 billion revenue for Nigeria. So what we've done is to authenticate sites. It has not been launched officially. So as the DG with my lean team, wherever we have offices all over Nigeria. So we go and our team joins us there. And one of the partnerships we've had, for example, is ARIC. And the MOU we signed with them is that they will be our partner to take us to every location where an airplane can take us. And where an airplane stops, ABC Transport will follow us. So for domestic tourism, the first 2 MOUs we signed with ABC Transport. Already right now, we're going to start Tour Abuja. They have purchased these buses. I'll show you the pictures later. Double-decker buses, where we're going to start touring. Yes, we're an open roof, and they're going to encourage people. And we've already chosen all the bus stuff. We've gotten all the approvals, and we've had partners who've already said, yes, we want to be part of it, so that the bus can stop here and take tourists around. So for domestic tourism, those 2 partners have already become active. ABC is very serious. We'll have a whole department working on that. And ARIC is already active. They take us wherever we go. And so we've toured. Why are we talking about domestic tourism? There are 3 major reasons. One of them is to develop tourism sites. The plan is to develop at least 1 tourism site per geographical zone. Yes. So to be able to do that, that is a long-term vision. In the short term now, to get there, we need to be able to see that these tourism sites exist. But why domestic tourism? We are planning domestic tourism because we want to empower and create jobs at the local government levels. If the tourism sites are the local government areas, then people, number 2, will not want to migrate. So number 2 reason is we don't want people to move to the cities too much. We want people to be empowered around their local communities. Why do people go to the cities? They're looking for jobs. But if you can create jobs where the local tourism centers are and encourage, when more people visit, if the traffic is there, maybe 2 or 3 people, and now we have 20, they need to employ more hands. So that is how we want to do. So we want to empower the grassroots. That is what the tourism we're doing is about. It's about grassroots tourism, about empowering those at the grassroots. That is what Nigeria is all about.
And that's the essence of developing the economy.
Absolutely.
Now, beautiful dream, beautiful idea. I mean, developing local tourism and domestic tourism. But we have a challenge, the security challenge. How is this hampering the realization of your dream?
I think I would like to really make a statement, not just to you, to my fellow Nigerians. Security is something, and terrorism is something that is not peculiar to Nigeria. Security and terrorism is a global issue. All over the world today. You will find that countries as sophisticated as the United States, United Kingdom, have been dealing with terrorism. A country like Israel. Israel began to deal with terrorism since 1946. That's 68 years ago, almost 70 years ago, when the Jerusalem hotel was bombed and 91 people were killed. But hey, today, Jerusalem is still tops for religious tourism. Then the United Kingdom, for over 25 years, they've been dealing with the Irish...
IRA.
Yes, the IRA. It doesn't stop them from having successful tourism. Then you have also the Twin Towers in America. As sophisticated as America is, the Twin Towers bombing, the 9/11, was a surprise to them. So terrorism is a global issue. You also have Egypt. When you go to international fairs, Egypt will tell you, this is the best time to come to Egypt because you can arrange a tourism police, which we can do. So in spite of the security issues that we have, something very fundamental that I would like to communicate to Nigerians is that terrorism is new to Nigeria. It's not as, we are not as advanced in dealing with terrorism as the first world are. But like I said, in spite of their sophistication, they are still dealing with terrorism today. So what we need to do is to call on all Nigerians to put all hands on deck. Let us cooperate with our government. The government is doing a lot. The president mentioned at the World Economic Forum that because terrorism is new to Nigeria, the first thing the government is doing is capacity building. We have to train our troops on how to deal with terrorism. And if you don't train them, then there's no strategy. So you can see that even the strategy which the government is employing is working.
Yes,
we are catching these people. It is not a pleasant thing. Terrorism is an act of cowardice. You cannot attack innocent people to communicate to a government. So we all must have our hands on deck. In all these countries in the world, it is people who keep their ears to the ground. So my advice is, let us be our brothers' keepers. As Nigerians, let us look after one another. Let us listen, and if we see anything that is suspicious, we must report it. Because this government is very, very committed to destroying terrorism, to wiping it out, and creating safety for all Nigerians.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that gospel. Now, another thing, talking about domestic tourism, is that Nigerians believe that we have infrastructural deficit, as it were.
Yes.
Most of these sites are not even accessible.
True. True.
What are you doing? Are you talking to relevant government agencies to make all this site accessible that tourism can actually take place?
Thank you very much. That's a very informed question. It shows that you understand what we're doing. That is really the essence of our visits. We don't go there to visit and shake the governor. It's no. My main focus is the local government chairman, the commissioners of the tourism sites. We contact them. We said, we are coming to your state. We want to see what you have. Which are the tourism sites that are priority to you? Because at the end of this exercise, each state will say to us, oh, this is our the most developed, what we need you to improve it all. Like you said, create infrastructure. There's no roads to access it. That's what I'm going around now seeing. And we're taking pictures. We're seeing the amazing thing is that I really have to say, heads up, hands up to the bravo to all the state governors, because they're all highly committed. And if you don't go there, you don't know how committed they are. Every state is competing to be the best for tourism. So when now I no longer call them, they invite me. Every state government wants the federal government to see what they're doing. Because it's not my job to run the states. No. Our job in the federal level is to support. Do whatever we can do to support. And it is our prayer that the federal government will be able to support the state governments in developing at least one tourism site per geopolitical zone. So when we visit to these places, I can try to mention to you some of the states we've been to. Please. In this my 1 year, the first 3 months we spent doing restructuring, staff matters, signing MOUs with people that we're going to go in the next quarter with. In the second part, we began to travel, and within 9 months, we visited the whole of Nigeria, visited 17 states, making sure we touch some states in every geopolitical zone. For example, for the domestic tourism states we visited, in the northwest, for example, we visited Kaduna. We have the 5th chakra there. You'll see the pictures later. In the FCT, we visited the Pottery Village, the Ecological Garden, and the zoo. In the northeast, we have visited Taraba. I went all the way to Wukari. It was a fantastic experience. And they eat everything with pepper, so I've learned how to eat pepper. Then in the north central zone, we went to Benue State. Benue State has the best dance troupe in Nigeria. Anywhere the president is going, he cannot go without. That is my advice. You must go to Benue and take their dance troupes to travel with you. Then in the southwest, I'm a product of the southwest, so I have a passion for the southwest. I've visited most of the states. Lagos State, Osun State, Ondo State, Ogun State, and Oyo State I've visited. Ondo State, medical tourism, first class. Then in the south-south, I've been to River State, I've been to Cross River, Akwa Ibom, we've been to Bayelsa and to Delta States. Amazing experience. They're quite prepared and ready for tourism. In the southeast, we've been to Enugu State, we've been to Abia State. Now, the domestic tourism trips continue, but to be able to have touched the 6 geopolitical zones, these are the states that we've touched.
Yeah, I can see something MOU signed.
Yes.
I can see ABC, ARIC, Heritage Bank, and Gambia.
Yes.
Are you reaping the fruit of this MOUs signed already?
Absolutely, absolutely. We just last week, as you mentioned earlier, Gambia, we have been nurturing this relationship for 1 year. We've not argued, we said no, we wanted Nigeria to have the upper hand. And so we were able to beef up the MOU to make sure that Nigeria will start to benefit first. Because Gambia has best practice. There's a success story. So MOU, we don't just sign MOU. We look at what's in it for the country, what's in it for my staff, and what's in it for NTDC.
So you build strategic partnership.
Yes, very strategic, thank you, you know. So for Gambia, for example, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do transfer of, what do you call it?
Technology.
Transfer of staff. We're going to have our staff engage with them and have experience and work as tourism hosts. So when our staff come back, they have been involved, they've seen how you treat a tourist, and then they'll come back and then they'll now spread it, and then training can start from there. But we'll do our training locally, but they'll go out there for best practice experience. ABC is a fantastic success story. We're about to launch it. The progress is there. ARIC Airline, from the very first day, they've been fantastic. They take us wherever we want to go. They're on time, and they encourage people to fly. So we go to tourism sites, and ARIC has been taking us there. For medical tourism, we have Ondo State, and we have Reddington Hospital in Lagos. And for inbound tourism, so we're campaigning 2 major things actively. One is domestic tourism, which is us, Nigerians, to see for ourselves, and when we travel, we tell people about it. The other one is inbound tourism. We recently signed an MOU with a corporation called Javago. They are a website-based company, and they're installing right now as we speak a website for people outside Nigeria. When they're coming to Nigeria, they will look into our website and see hotels all over the world and all over Nigeria, and then they'll pick a hotel there. And now for every booking that they make, NTDC will earn revenue. So this is already in our first year. We're already engaged in that. We will earn revenue, anybody that books into that. We have also signed MOU with the Turkish Chamber of Commerce. Yes, and so
let's go straight to your tourism exhibitions across the world that you've done. I had some took place in London and across. Tell me about them.
Well, we've had, as you know, our main focus is domestic tourism. And these exhibitions tend to cost quite a bit to put up. So what we do is we streamline and we decide which is going to be strategically beneficial to the NTDC and to Nigeria. The first one we went to was in London, the World Travel Market. I can show you some of the pictures later. And in the World Travel Market, you can see here, one of the most important things there is that tourism exhibitions in NTDC in the past were about NTDC. That's not what tourism exhibitions are supposed to be about. Tourism exhibitions are supposed to be partnership, where NTDC will encourage the public sector. You take a whole hall. And you have the oil and gas, you have hotels especially, all the way. The private sector is exhibiting themselves, and we are showcasing them. So there was an exhibition we went to. That was the exhibition in Germany, in Berlin. We chose not to exhibit, But to go and see how others were doing it, and Nigeria was traveling from place to place, giving them Nigerian things, they experienced Nigeria, mobile Nigeria. But what we learned at that exhibition, which we couldn't do the year before because we didn't move around, we were just hosting our own exhibition, what we learned was that an exhibition must be a hall from here down to the end of the road. And it must be funded by the private sector exhibiting themselves. So from that experience, when we went to the one in South Africa, we tried to do it without spending. The past regimes would spend 20, 30 million, 40 million. We said, no, I designed it. I'm an artist.
Yes, right.
So I designed it. You can see it's a very unusual design. Yeah. And he gave us an award. We won an award from it, you know, from the way I designed it, because it was very different. Yes. Yeah. So, but because of what we learned in Berlin, we said it's not going to be about NTDC. We got Eco Hotels exhibited. Okay. We got ARIC. So the private sector took ownership of that exhibition. So that is what our...
That's the whole essence of your what you want to do in NTDC.
Yes.
Now, I know time is against us. I want to ask, you are 1 year on board as the Director General of the Nigerian Tourism Development Corporation.
Yes.
Where do you want to take NTDC to in the next 2 or 3 years?
I would say that, with the last thing I want to say now is that, which is the most important thing, we've talked about inbound tourism, we talked about domestic tourism. The third thing I'm talking about is using the diplomatic community to market Nigeria for us. Yeah. So a part of the partnerships we're holding is with the diplomatic community that are in Nigeria. Who will market you? They will market Nigeria even better than you in an exhibition. Okay. It's we have, for example, reached an agreement with Mexico, with Cuba, the Gambia, Turkey. We have Venezuela also with us. And these countries have given us an undertaking that their job is to market their nationals to Nigeria because they live here. Nigeria is the only country where a national is posted here for an official assignment. At the end of that official assignment, what does he do? He refuses to go back home. He changes his clothes and says, I want to live in Nigeria. I want to work with Nigerians. He partners with Nigerians, and he's a success. So these expatriates want them to be our marketers, to be our ambassadors, to market Nigeria, to say Nigeria is safe. I want a Nigeria. I want to take us tourism to a Nigeria that everybody knows Nigeria is safe. That's also another reason why domestic tourism. I'm traveling there. If people see pictures of me in a tourism site, oh, it's safe. If she can go there, then I can go there. So these are just the issues. We've also partnered with immigration. We want a tourism industry where visas are snap. People don't queue at the
shop.
Yes, they come to the airport, their visas are given to them. We're also partnering with Shopee to create capacity building and, you know, other areas.
I want to say congratulations.
Have I talked too much?
You've known.
You manage it so well.
It's good to hear success story.
Thank you.
I want to say your ideas are as beautiful as they look.
Thank you.
Thank
well,
you
we've started actioning them already, so that's important.